Welcome back, High Vibe Tribe. Let's get to plowing through these parts so we can continue to unearth these energetic ties. Here in episode 2, part 2 of Why We Stay, or What the Fuck Was I Thinking? We are exposing the seeds of the neurochemistry of trauma bonds. So if you've ever asked yourself, why can't I let go? Why do I still feel connected even when I know it's not healthy? Why do I crave the very thing that keeps breaking me? Then this episode is for you, because the answer is not weakness, it's not obsession, and it's not lack of self-worth. It's neuroscience. So let's break it down. The neurochemical addiction is the push-pull cycle. So whenever you're in a relationship that swings between love and pain, intimacy and rejection, connection and abandonment, your brain gets hooked on the pattern. It's exactly why I was addicted to my situationship. It was the pattern that I packed away in my little suitcase, and I decided that it needed to come with me because it was familiar, not because I needed it. And here's what happens. Dopamine, which is defined as a chemical in your brain that helps control how you feel pleasure, motivation, and reward. It's what makes you want to chase goals, enjoy the things you love, and feel satisfied when something good happens. So that spikes during emotional highs like attention, affection, sex, the makeup phase. And then we have cortisol, which is a hormone that your body makes when you're stressed, and it's sometimes called the stress hormone because it helps your body react in tough situations by giving you energy and focus. A little cortisol is healthy, but too much for too long can make you feel anxious, tired, and run down. Trying to, get your voice to be heard because you didn't feel like you should have been abandoned or ghosted again. Then we have oxytocin, which is a hormone that's often called the love hormone or the cuddle chemical. Your body releases it when you bond with someone through touch, trust, or even just feeling close. It helps create feelings of connection, safety, and love. This is released during physical closeness, even if that closeness isn't safe. It's that old familiar pattern that snuck into your bag. Morning coffee, so cheers. Decaf, because I'm on my diet for my ayahuasca journey coming up next month. I'll take everybody on that journey as well. Then we have adrenaline, which is a hormone your body releases in moments of stress, excitement, or danger. It's what gives you that burst of energy, making your heart beat faster, your breath quicken, and your body ready to react. It's often called the fight or flight hormone. That rises during conflict or drama, fueling the intensity and mistaking it for passion. So imagine being a child growing up in an unpredictable environment where it was normal to watch relationships fall apart with no signs of repair. It was normal to fight, scream, or become physical. And then the loop just repeats, or the people split up and they're ghosted. So I grew up with people in and out of my life all the time. There was never any consistency. There wasn't any foundation built to show how we were supposed to know any different. So if you are not shown if you're not shown how to actually build and maintain a healthy, stable foundation, and if you're not shown what a calm environment is, then you have no idea. So your brain gets trained to chase the next high, And the unpredictability of the love-pain loop makes it even more addictive because that's exactly what you're used to in childhood. So this is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the most powerful form of conditioning known to psychology. It's what keeps people hooked in gambling, other addictions, and trauma bonds. It's accepting those breadcrumbs when you know that you deserve the whole fucking bakery. Or you're allowing somebody to have their cake and eat it too. He knows who he is. So when you ask yourself, why do I miss them? It's not just longing. It's actually a biochemical withdrawal. The amygdala is a small part of your brain that acts like an alarm system. It helps you notice danger, feel emotions like fear or danger, and decide how to react. It's like the key for survival, but it can sometimes overreact and make you feel stressed even when you are safe. It has your fear of abandonment on overdrive. Your amygdala can't tell the difference between emotional threat and physical danger. So if you had early experiences of neglect, inconsistency, or abandonment, your amygdala becomes hypervigilant. It scans for signs of rejection, like your life fucking depends on it, because at one point it actually did. So now, a delayed text can feel like life or death. A breakup can feel like suffocation, and walking away feels more dangerous than staying, even if it hurts. Your brain literally screams, "Don't let go, stay close," and the proximity equals survival. So now we have the nervous system conditioning, where chaos feels like home. If you grew up in a household full of emotional chaos, unpredictability, or emotional shutdown, your nervous system adapted. How did your parents get along? Did they fight? Did they argue? Did you see repair? Was there a lot of screaming and yelling? The nervous system learned to regulate itself through dysregulation. So now when someone brings peace and consistency, it feels foreign, boring, untrustworthy. Like the man who kept wanting to pour love into my cup, and I apparently drilled a hole at the bottom of my cup, allowing it to seep out because it was unfamiliar to me and I didn't want it, even though that was the one thing that I did want. But when someone mirrors, the familiar chaos of your past, your body lights up and it's like, yes, this is exactly what I need. And it's not. It's actually just a familiar pattern that your body was craving because that was the only way that it actually knew peace, was through chaos. So this is how I became entangled into the dysfunctional patterns of my 18-month on and off again situationship. And today is actually 1 year from the last time that we were together. And so this is just perfect timing. His inconsistency and running away from intimacy fueled the very fire that I am surviving. So I'd like to say that I have survived the fire, which kind of cracks me up because I didn't even mean for any of this to play into that handle. And but when spirit speaks, you just kind of let it roll and say it loud and clear. So, because I don't have anything to run from or hide from, so this is all for me. Anyways, so this doesn't mean that I was broken. This means that your system was trained to find comfort in discomfort. And that's exactly what my nervous system was doing until I'm teaching myself to retrain it, or I have taught myself. I'm going to rephrase that because I'm not in that dysfunction anymore. I was boring for him too because I was that unfamiliar, nurturing, giving person that he's never had before. You know, both of us wanting the same thing, which was love, but not able to handle what we asked for because we didn't have the tools to learn how to work through our childhood trauma together. So we were brought together to actually mirror those unhealed versions of ourselves in each other, in order to become triggered to heal the old ways that we were conditioned to growing up. So, you know, I just want to remind everybody here that I'm not here to talk shit. I'm here to recognize the root cause of unhealthy relationship dynamics so the pattern does not repeat. This is for me. I cannot force him to step off of his own hamster wheel. I can't force him to apologize. I can't force him to go back and tell everybody the fucking truth and the role that he played in all of this. That's all on him. So, and his own karma, not mine. What I will continue to do is speak the actual truth, own my own accountability, and use that to propel me forward in my own life, because I choose not to live in the trauma bond anymore. So, moving on to the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is part of the brain that helps you remember things and make new memories. It also helps with learning and finding your way around, like your brain's personal map and memory keeper. But memory distortion and emotional nostalgia can also affect the hippocampus. The trauma bonds mess with the way that it stores information. It prioritizes intense memories over neutral ones, so you remember the highs, the passion, the intimacy, the laughter, and you minimize the lows, which are the betrayals, the red flags, and the pain. So whenever we were going through that whole mess, I would find every reason to give him a reason for his actions and how he treated me. So I knew that it was trauma-based. So I gave him grace, understanding that he was acting with the tools that he had, and I would try to give myself grace because I knew that I was trying to figure it out. But there was just more finger pointing outward than there was inward. And this is where I've shifted that energy to recognizing that if somebody isn't ready to acknowledge their behavior and hold their accountability, along with the friends that are around them and who enable their behavior, I don't need to be around that, and I don't want that in my life. I don't want anybody in my life who can't hold themselves accountable, because that's not okay. Like we're all adults learning that we don't have to carry the trauma with us anymore, and we all have a choice. And I just want to make better choices for myself and my life every day. So this is just my goal. But I would constantly not allow myself to be angry with the way that this dude was treating me. I tried numerous times to explain to him that what he was doing hurt me, and obviously nobody has ever called him out on his behavior before. Like, you know, it's not okay to pretend like you're playing house with your codependent co-parent and then turn around just to get your dick wet somewhere else because she isn't putting out, and then turn it all around on the other person who's actually trying to care about you, and like flip the whole story into something that wasn't even true. So we're just going to call it as it is and move on from there, because again, that's his own conditioning from the way that he was raised, and that's going to be his choice to work through his trauma from his own childhood, so that way he can, you know, start his own healing journey, and he knows that. You know, I much respect for him and who he is. You know, he's a great person. He truly is, and everybody knows that, but he just needs to take the mask off. But I can't rip that shit off for anybody. You know, everything, healing is your choice, and I'm just making my own choices. And you know, it doesn't even have to do with fucking childhood. We've, he and I both have had shit partners who couldn't accept all of who we are. So they would also knock us to our knees because the familiarity and predictability that kept us entangled in those relationships and the constant hits our bodies needed to survive at the time, because we didn't know how to listen to our body whenever it said to get out. Again, everybody is a mirror to give us a gift on how we can actually heal from our past. And whenever you come together and you hold that space for your partner, you're actually healing each other. So the hippocampus creates nostalgia for potential rather than the reality. So I was looking at his potential rather than the reality of who he is and what he's actually able to give me. And that emotional fog can keep you stuck in a loop of false hope and idealization. Like when he couldn't understand that baby mama didn't want to move in with him. And I guess he's offered that to her numerous times throughout the years, and it's just been like a constant no. But all he was doing was trying to make up for a mistake that he made years ago, and he thought it was the right way out. Is to, try to give himself to somebody who didn't want it, instead of realizing, I made a mistake. I understand that this person isn't for me, and I can't just be with this person because she's the mother of my daughter. If I recognize it's an unhealthy relationship dynamic, then I need to accept that and move away and actually start my own life and find my own happiness rather than trying to search for it outside with outside validation, because you're gonna lose yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore. Asking friends for advice who give you shit advice, telling you to, shut down and ignore them because it's too much for me and I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to be friends with somebody telling me to shut down my fucking feelings, Like, how about you man up and own your shit? Go fucking have a conversation and figure it out. That's the adult thing to do, is to take care of your own problems and not shove them all on somebody else, expecting them to solve them for you. So he couldn't understand that part of his relationship, and I couldn't understand how he could continuously tell me that he loved me, but then turn around and say, and I'm going to quote this, "I know I can't love you the way that you love me. You will always be the stained glass window that I threw a rock through." So this is actually him admitting that he hurt me and he doesn't know how to fix it, because he doesn't know how to look in here to help repair the trauma that he went through as a child. So, we're breaking down that statement and looking at his own inner child asking for help, and he doesn't know how to ask for help. So instead of, paying for a new window and admitting that you broke it, you ran away with hopes that nobody would find out that you were the one to shatter it to pieces. So now the owner is left to clean up the mess and replace the window that you're too scared to take accountability for and feared the unknown consequences of your actions. So I'm guilty of trying to fix this person instead of creating my own boundaries. He's guilty of turning me into the exact opposite of who I am, which then turned people into believing his lies, so he didn't have to face his own pain, and then turned into like an entire community of people trusting this fool with a mask on instead of seeing the other side of the pancake. Like, I'm sorry, y'all, but we're not in high school anymore. Do you remember how rumors actually start? Like, the bear was brown whenever it first started, but by the time it gets back to you, it's fucking pink. So if you just tell the truth from the start and tell the truth to yourself, because this is where it's all going to start, it's not lying to yourself, and sitting with that uncomfortable discomfort of that truth, You don't have to work up your nervous system trying to remember all the bullshit that you stuffed inside there to forget that, you're actually fucking with someone's livelihood. And maybe you should grow up and start looking at how you can create your own happiness without trying to tear somebody else down to get your quick fix. It's just not okay to do that to somebody. Like, gross. Nobody wants that behavior. And then for everybody to like jump on that train, like, damn, that train needs to ship the fuck on out of here. Moving on to, I'm going to move into mirror neurons. It's like the energetic enmeshment. So your brain has mirror neurons, which are special brain cells that mirror what we see someone else doing or feeling. This helps us understand and connect with others by letting us almost feel their emotions and actions as if they were our own. So when we're deeply bonded with somebody, especially someone that you love, your mirror neurons fire even stronger, almost like our brains are wired to sync up with theirs. So we can feel their joy, we can feel their pain and energy more closely. And I know I've experienced a lot of that, especially as an empath. So that's why we can feel their energy from a distance. You absorb their emotions as your own. Even after you're separated, you still feel tied to them. Like this is an energetic entanglement, and it's actually real because we are all energy. So when you're wrapped up in that shit, like you're really wrapped up in that shit, I felt like I would die if I let go. And the only thing I was holding on to was the familiar pattern. It wasn't the person. I don't want to be with someone who can't show up for me the same way that I do for them. And I'll be damn sure that I don't want to be with someone who can't show up for themselves. I had some guy try to tell me before that he thought that I wanted some bad boy like him. And I was like, can you explain that to me? And so, this person drinks quite a bit whenever he goes out. He crosses the line. And then his friends get disgusted and they're like, oh, fuck, like, you did that again? And when I first met this person, he actually portrayed himself to be completely different than from what I've seen since. And I was like, bro, no, I don't want a bad boy, and you're actually not a bad boy. You're an unhealed child that is in the body of an adult that doesn't know when to stop. And it's just like another pattern, and I'm not into that. Like, that's a big turnoff, actually. And anybody who is attracted to that is actually your mirror for you to see how your actions are really affecting other people. It's gross. It's just not something that I want in my life, nor will I allow it to be in my life. I'm sorry, but I used to be an alcoholic, and I don't remember those days because I was an alcoholic and I fucking blacked out all the fucking time. I don't want to step into that. That's old news, bro. So I just don't want to be with somebody who feels like they need a shit ton of alcohol to survive outings. That's just their own trauma screaming. And I shouldn't have to suffer for your through your trauma if you're not even trying to get out of it. If you're fine swimming in that ocean, go swim, but I'm not going to drown with you. If you're taking the steps to maybe move out of that shit, reach the shore first before you decide to try to move on. We all deserve partners who understand what reciprocity and integrity mean. So whenever I'm looking for a partner, it's, I dare you to match the love that I can give you. And if you can't, then, don't even knock on my fucking door, because I'm not going to answer. actions and words need to match, and I know my worth. So now I understand, I can use discernment, and I choose who to let in my house, everything, my life, my soul. Let's see, default mode network, my favorite. This is the loop of identity. So your default mode network is a set of brain structures that activates during self-reflection, rumination, and imagination. So it's a group of brain areas that turn on when your mind is, wandering, like you're daydreaming, you're reflecting on the past, imagining the future, or, thinking about yourself. So it's basically your brain's autopilot mode. Too much default mode network activity can lead to overthinking, rumination. I'm a triple air sign, so that means air is mind, your mind headspace, and I'm constantly thinking and I'm constantly overthinking, and there's dashes of ADHD in there, and it's learning how to catch that shit, and you're like, whoop, reel it in, because you don't need all that. It's just becoming more aware with your body, which is why it's important for you to sit with your body. But a healthy balance also helps with creativity, self-awareness, and making sense of your life story. After trauma bonding, this network loops on. What ifs, unfinished business, could I have fixed it? Were they my soulmate? Was it me? It keeps your identity hooked in the relationship. You don't just lose the person, you lose the version of yourself that existed with them. So to rewire I'll call it the DMN, default mode network, we need interruptive practices. Anything that breaks the loop and rebuilds a narrative from truth, not trauma. So when the default mode quiets down, like during meditation, breath work, or a psychedelic experience, the brain becomes more flexible. This allows different parts of the brain to talk to each other in new ways, which improves the neuroplasticity, and that's the brain's ability to rewire, grow new connections, and to break old patterns. In more simple terms, shutting off the default mode network helps the brain step out of the usual loops and opens a door for healing, learning, and fresh perspectives. So I love this song. You're not the crazy girl. You're chemically hooked. And, this is not where the story ends. It's where it changes, because you have the choice to rewire these loops. You can reclaim your energy. You can come back home to yourself. The brain is flexible. The body is wise. The soul remembers. And you are not the addiction. You are not the trauma. You are the awareness rising above it. You are like the pattern interrupt. And now you're the medicine. So happy healing, everyone. I have one more part to this episode, part 3 of episode 3. So I will leave it here, and until then, vibe high, tribe. Have a great day.